contributes to whatever topic that we are talking about today. When I say about environment, there are other institutions that are based in rural, urban places. Others, it's not even easier for the students to move out of the campus. That is number 1 point. Second, it's we need a relationship between the security plus we monitor instances of the movement of students, because that has a very, if you would know that a student X move out from a campus or a residence in a particular day or on a weekend, that is easy for us to can assist the campus protection. The other issue is, though that we need whoever was close to the jihad to assist, but one thing for sure, we can't say that we don't have resources to ensure that we install a very strong electronic surveillance in our facilities. The money is there. We know what we're doing with it. There is an issue of support, whether to students or staff. Under normal circumstances, we are supposed to have psychologists in our institutions. Maybe that's why the issue of sometimes jihad should advise universities to operate in a standard form in some instances. I know we can't be uniform, all of us, but if they can give us a directive to say, how all institutions, this is how you're supposed to be managing your institutions. You must have psychologists who, because surely as a security officer, there are some of the things that you can't deal with. You are not trained, you are not an expert in terms of that. But psychologists are there to deal with that. At CUT, I know we have psychologists who deal with this kind of issues, specifically because students are able to be opened and that they know how to ask a question of so forth. Lastly is the issue of the cultures within our people and the mindset. I will give a simple example. Is Stellenbosch University. There is no fence there. Unless if maybe I saw only one campus, I don't know how many, there are 2 campuses. When you go to Stellenbosch University, there is no fence. It's just an open, nice environment. You don't know who is the community, but you would never hear that there was either a crime or some instance of this nature that we're talking about today. But in our institutions, some of them know we need these high fence. You're supposed to be using that money to pay or to hire the people. We say that we understand people don't have investigators. We're supposed to be taking that money and give to them, to the very same people who are supposed to be doing that part of it. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to take those as comments, because they were essentially comments. And I have to unfortunately close, but I'm going to give this gentleman here, because he's going to blitzen me if I don't give him the microphone. Thank you. Your comments are noted there, sir.
Thank you, sir. So between me and you, Mr. Johnson. Thank you, sir. My name is Robert Kalase from the University of Botswana. With the issue of gender-bound GPV, we've got a document that is dealing with sexual harassment, which is a sexual harassment policy. But then, what I'm trying to say here is a question. We've had a lot of issues pertaining to students having to fight one another on issues of love affairs. And then at the end of it, because the University of Botswana actually is not the one that is collecting money from students for its coffers. So we are getting coffers from the government. The government is the one that is sponsoring the students. Now, the students, with respect to their parents, whenever there is an issue that is happening in the institution, they would like to know why their students were not taken care of. Where was the security? There were 2 cases that occurred in our institution. One student was stabbed nearly to death last year, and early this year another student was raped. Then we had a problem with the parents. The parents had to come to the University of Botswana management to say that our kids are not protected. Why do we have security here? Why were we not informed well on time? And you'll find that the other student was stabbed with a knife, was actually having alcohol outside the University of Botswana. They came back with a boyfriend and then they fought inside the institution. It has been a wrangle of labor affairs between the two. Now the other girl also went for beer drinking, and when she came back, unfortunately, she wanted to visit a boyfriend in one of the hostels. So on her way to the hostels, she was attacked by rapists, and then she was raped. Then I wanted to ask, how do we deal with this situation whereby we are supposed to be managing the students in the school, we are supposed to be protecting the students in the school, but at the same time, the parents, they are the ones who are putting pressure on us. Can't we come up with a proper policy or some regulations to say that when we are dealing with the students, parents cannot come and try to litigate on the University of Botswana, because some of them were threatening to litigate the University of Botswana to say that the students were not properly taken care of, they were not secure. Thank you.
Okay, so can I take that that's also comments? Or do you want a response? Right, the response is demanded. Chief, I'm not going to have a chance to give it to you. But you'll give it to me in the meantime. That's clever. That is strategic. Would anybody like to respond to the gentleman from Botswana?
Okay, our campuses have a disclaimer that says you enter the premises at your own risk. But it does not necessarily mean there isn't a duty on the university to take care of whoever is on campus. We only become responsible when there is gross negligence on the part of the university. So if students are going to go out there and drink and on their way back they are marked or whatever, and the parents feel security should have been there, then they must explain to us that in their homes, when their kids go, who goes with them? Do they go with security officers or around? But the point I'm trying to make is the universities needs to draw a line. And I think that's where we are challenged as investigators. How far do we go? Because as much as a student is our student, and I agree with all the speakers, but how far do we go? Because we have, you mentioned that you have about 6,000 or so students. We have more than that in one campus. So you can imagine the responsibility that is going to be upon us if we are going to have to account for everyone and everywhere wherever they are. So at UJ we say we will take responsibility as far as it's possible on campus on identified safe routes. But we are not necessarily saying it's not going to happen. We were looking at the stats, 2018 and 2019 crime stats. And it was said that Johannesburg or Gauteng is the second crime province, highest crime in the province. We are the second one. And we are saying with the university being in the area, we are not immune. So we're not only going to look at the incidents that are reported to us, but we're also going to look at incidents that we prevented, because we have a full-time monitoring system. We've got in the control room where we have controllers who are sitting and watching the videos, the cameras day and night, 24 hours. But should something happen, the question should be, was the university negligent in that instance? So those are some of the issues that I think we should look. The last thing, I think we are one of the universities, if not the first one, that partnered with Namola. You know Namola app, everybody should be knowing about that one. So what we did was, whatever incidents that are happening or reported on Namola, within our geofencing, within the campus and on our safe routes, UJ will be the first responders. If we don't respond in the first at least 3 minutes, if we don't respond, then Namola will automatically send their responders. Because we only looking at the university, the community, the university community. But then they are sometimes out of our geofencing. So we're not going to be able to respond if you are off the safe roads. So we should be able as universities to draw a line, and the parents must actually get that. So that means we must work with the registrar's office. That at the beginning of the year, the parents know this is how far we go. But we're not saying we don't care when it happens off the safe routes, but you cannot now want to litigate or to lay a claim against the university. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to give a final comment to the doctor because he just picked up something that he'd like to respond to.
I think your point is very important, and I want to pick your point specifically because I think the capacity is going to be the massive issue once the reporting starts increasing. I'll just give you one example. We built 18 new clinics in our campuses of higher learning, specifically in TVET colleges, which never had clinics in the past. What we did was, in Toya Yondo, we added social workers there. In just about 6 months, we had about 62 new cases of gender-based violence reported, just with one small social worker being added into the clinic. Now, but out of the 62 cases, 80% of the cases were not related to students, but not related to the campus. These are domestic cases that happens outside the campus. But the question that also comes parallel was, how do we increase psychosocial support services parallelly? I'm speaking to the campus security, it's the same way we got a forum for all the health practitioners of our higher education sit together. They say they don't have the capacity to handle such a large volume of cases being coming up on mental illnesses or specifically psychosocial support for gender-based violence. And similar question is coming out, how do we increase capacity? But just to give you relief, Global Fund, which is World Bank, has now partnered with us and they are giving at least in about 18 sub-districts of South Africa, extra psychologists and social worker support specifically to handle cases of chronic gender-based violence. Chronic means cases that have been long before even the students came and that are affecting our education system. Similarly, we've just sent a letter from the Minister of Health to all the psychiatry hospitals in South Africa that they must be putting its outreach team to our nearest university or TVET college when it comes to support structures of students suffering from mental health and gender-based violence primarily, because this is another form of support structure. Similarly, I think the big question that will come up with CAMPROSA will be is how do we handle such a high volume of in case reporting starts happening at the campus security level. But the big question again, as one of my respondents did answer, is what is the role? Are you going to take up the role of forensic, which is already the role of National Prosecuting Authority, police? I think the first big aim is the first respondent. I think if we can just do that first respondent capacity assessment, capacity development of our people at the gate, people of level at security, if we can work on that principle, I'm sure that can then bridge a very strong relationship with the forensic team around in the district in order for us to start looking at that investigation in a much more intensified way. I'm sure each institution is different. UJ has got its own steps and levels that they have engaged. I'm sure on the other side, Welcome campus or a Kwakwa campus has a totally different environment which I'm aware of. And similarly is Bethlehem, which is close by. So everybody will handle it in a separate way, depending on the district, depending on how systems work. But I think a minimum SOP, which standardizes the sector, will be the right way to approach.
Thank you so much. Okay, so panel, well, I'll just wrap up from here. You each going to think of one minute comment that you think might be useful. Okay, Doc, I think you've made your point. The three of you, I'm going to just you think about it. After lunch, we're going to come back and there's more chance to interact with some of the things that have arisen. So those of you that I sort of missed can tell me at lunchtime and say, I want to say something. I know you weren't happy with something. Remember, we spoke at tea time, so you people will get you too deep in that. I know you. Yes. There's still some questions that came up. One was, what happened to the perpetrator after being identified? Question from there. The boss ladies group. Who was in the boss ladies group?
Wow. There's one thing that is very close to my heart is when we receiving incidents that are reported to us. I think as universities we need to prioritize them. We receive so many cases that it becomes challenging to really run. We've got an operational statistics sort of a incident group that we call theft negligence. I think most of you must be knowing that when students just leave their stuff and they come back, I was charging my phone here, I was charging my laptop and all that. So what we have done at UJ is, when it's reported, the controller will look at the footage and see if there's anything we can do. If there's nothing we can do, then they must note there's no witness, there's no footage. And we have requested, because we're using Chase, to automatically send an email to build that function, automatically send an email to the complainant to say, we are unable to proceed with the case unless a witness comes forth. At the moment, we're going to close the case. Then we know by the time cases are automatically allocated to investigators, all those cases are dealt with, so that we can give priority to more serious cases. And I think that that's more important, so that we don't find ourselves leaving important cases like the GBV and we're concentrating on this and that. When it comes to theft of motor vehicles and all that, we know, first thing we obviously have to check if there's footage, then we send to SAPS. So there are those cases that really we can be able to deal with immediately, and the system should actually be able to give us the feedback in that instance. When we're doing our stats, we can easily tell where we're having problems, the hot spots and all that. So I think for me is how do we manage the incidents that are reported to us. Thank you.
Okay. Just a couple of very brief points, I think, to echo what the doctor said. The policy is really important. That gives you a baseline, and that's something to work from, and that's better than nothing at all. I know in the UK, when you have a policy, so it doesn't just become a dry piece of paper that nobody engages with, it needs to be championed. And it needs to be championed by the senior figures within the university to give it power. And it needs to be revisited and perhaps altered as events change and as circumstances change over time. So it becomes kind of like a growing document, really, a living document. And I suppose I'd just like to finish by saying, it's my second time here at CAMPROSA, and I always find it really fascinating that even though we're from thousands of miles away, we share very many similar problems. And we also have our own unique problems to where we're from. And I think we learn a lot from each other just through spending time with each other in this way. So I suppose I would say, as someone who runs security in a UK university, don't give up heart. Just remain as happy as you possibly can while you're doing your jobs, because we face constant criticism, I think, and I'm sure that's the same here as well. And very rarely do we have a pat on the back for a job well done. But very quickly people will start pointing their fingers and why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? That happens at home as well. So you're not alone, is what I'm saying. And hopefully we will be able to collaborate more with ORCSO, the Association of University Chief Security Officers from the UK, to CAMPROSA and learn from each other. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think I will be so much brief. My closing remarks will be on treating GBV cases with passion and treating GBV cases with sensitivity and urgency as well, and understanding that we are not all from the same backgrounds, you see, and our culture is they're definitely not the same. But all in all, it's about sensitivity and passion, I think. Yeah. Thank you.
Will, thanks very much. Sorry.